back to Reclaiming America. Why are you laughing?
Because
I'm usually the one that's supposed to be laughing.
I know what I'm going to do to you.
We're back to Reclaiming America. Oh, this is going to be a hoot today because we already are fighting behind the scenes.
That's true. He's wrong, but I will defend his right to be wrong.
We're going to have a little dust up, I guess. We'll call it a dust up.
Well, it could be a hairy situation, but once somebody's unarmed.
Yeah, we've been off for a couple weeks, so we're back, and we've got quite the number of, I'm just ignoring you.
Yes,
stories,
I'm Bill,
topics,
by the way.
issues.
I'm the other half of this
friendly
team that works well together.
Yo, what's your name?
He's so bossy. You didn't even let me get there.
Because the show's only an hour long.
And now we've wasted another 20 seconds. I'm Dan. He's the OG. Go.
All right, OJ, we'll keep going for that.
Not OJ.
Thought you were OJ.
Oh, God.
Just put your glove on and pretend.
So we've already established, by the way, off the air that Bill has gone senile. He's posting videos to TikTok that are God knows where because they're not on our TikTok.
We found them, didn't we?
No, we didn't.
And God didn't help us on that one. I did it all by myself.
How about the first show before we lose every the audience?
Guys, we really have a good show today. Just hang in there. All right, we're going to start out with something that happened in Davidson County, North Carolina, in a school. A young man was in class taking a test, and the teacher said, use the word alien, write the word alien in a sentence. And he put his hands up and asked the question, do you mean space alien or do you mean illegal alien? And the story gets better.
I have not heard this. He started to tell me off air, and I said, don't, because I want to react to it. Go ahead.
At this point, one of the kids in the classroom stands up and says, these are fighting words.
Oh, really?
So the assistant principal gets called down. The kid who stood up to fight said, I was only kidding. So they excused him and let him go back to his seat. The kid that said the illegal alien the teacher said, I don't have a problem with it because as far as I'm concerned, it was a clarifying question. And the assistant principal took him down to the office and suspended him for a number of days from school for using a racist hate word.
Oh, really?
Right. There are now several law groups in the state of North Carolina.
And who is this assistant principal to determine what is or is not?
He said based on board policy.
Board policy?
Board policy.
So he made the decision for the board.
Correct. That's his authority to do so.
As an assistant principal.
Yep.
He can overrule the board. Got it.
No, the board made a policy that you can't use certain words and that are racist. He decided that illegal alien was a racist term.
Right, but I'm saying, did they clarify specifically in the minutes of the board meeting that the term illegal alien is racist?
I do not know that answer.
Well, I can surmise it probably is no.
Well, this man or woman, and I'm not sure which one it is, or a man-woman, could be all three.
You got to be careful these days, right?
Yeah. Decided to suspend this kid. Now, I do know there are several law groups in the state of North Carolina that are moving forward to help this.
Would the ACLU be one of them?
I wouldn't put money on that one.
I thought they were against that kind of stuff.
Only
not anymore.
Only when it's against the liberal.
Only when it's convenient for them to be against it. Right. Got it.
So, but this is what's going on in our schools in North Carolina. Think about it. The kid asked an honest, clarifying question. The teacher said it was clarifying. She had no problem with it. The assistant principal, after being called in, decided it was a racist comment that violated school policy, and therefore he had to be suspended.
So this is now going to go before the board.
I'm sure it's being appealed, but at the same point, I'm sure there's going to be a lawsuit out of it for violating his rights.
There's probably going to be a lawsuit either way, because if they make his lawsuit go away, the other side will sue for allowing that to happen.
Yeah, it could be.
Lawfare works both ways.
Sometimes.
In North Carolina, no less.
Okay, in North Carolina, but it does work both ways.
Yeah.
Other parts of the country only works one way.
I'm amused, to say the least.
When I first heard it, I said, okay, so who do you call an illegal alien? And then I found out he was just asking a clarifying question of the teacher.
So I have a question. Remember the band Genesis?
Yeah.
They had a #1 hit.
Yep.
Called Illegal Alien. Is that now banned in North Carolina schools?
Evidently in Davidson County.
Because if you sing that, my God, that's a racist song now.
I'm thinking My God might be banned in North Carolina schools.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely banned in New York schools and California ones. It just, again, you're seeing people overstep their authority. Now, where is this county? Just out of curiosity, is it near Charlotte or Raleigh? For those that don't live in North Carolina, because I don't know.
Yeah, it's closer to Durham.
So it's in the blue area.
Yeah, but it's not a blue county per se.
It's nudging, kind
It
of.
nudges.
Nudges. So again, if it was in, say, Mecklenburg or right in downtown Raleigh, then maybe you could make the case that it's hard blue. So there's that's the reasoning, but it doesn't sound like this is the case. So this is one particular person, kind of like what happened in Maine and Colorado, where one person determined whether Trump was going to be on the ballot or not. They consistently show, they being the left, that they believe one person should have the power to make decisions for everyone else.
Yeah, and they do.
And then they enact on it. And then it creates a hubbub.
But we all know that illegal aliens is not a curse word. It's actually a very accurate description.
We'll probably get banned on various channels for using it.
All right, so I'm not going to say illegal alien anymore.
We've jumped the shark. Forget it. We've jumped it. This country's done. Sorry. We had this thing called the First Amendment. That's now gone.
Yeah, well, I think we should continue this segment called This and That, because I think we just cover little things going on right now. For example, our president has now decided that his uncle was eaten by cannibals.
Yes. Yes.
Now, the fact of the matter was his uncle was not in a single engine plane like he claims, and there were 4 people in the plane. 1 did survive, 3 did not make it. His uncle was one of them, and I thank him for his service and to the country and whatever else. But to everyone's knowledge, he was not on anybody's dinner plate that evening. But yet our president decided that his uncle was most likely eaten by cannibals because they were over New Guinea. So everybody in New Guinea is
He said Guinea.
Guinea,
It
okay.
was over Guinea.
Guinea, okay.
Oh, just Guinea, not
Just
New
Guinea.
Guinea.
Not New Guinea.
Thank you for the help, Greta.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so keep us out of more trouble.
So, how racist is that?
Well, everybody who's in Guinea is obviously a cannibal because our president said so.
Can you imagine if Trump said that? What would happen? Oh, dear Lord.
They'd be lining the walls.
Oh,
with
my
everything.
God. There'd be another trial.
And there'd be at least 12 more charges.
There'd be another, 42 indictments for that. I was trying to think while you were cracking me up with all this. Who was the guy that Biden said his friend back in the 60s at the pool? What was that guy's name?
I don't remember.
Whatever it was. I was going to say, was that the guy who ate his
But
uncle?
then again, if you look at some of the things the Democrats have been saying historically, and I did a little session on one of my one little minuets out there that
no one's ever going to see because they're not where they're supposed to be.
Shirley Jackson Lee was doing was doing a thing at the solar eclipse, and she was explaining to a class that the moon is made up of gases. And it is not solid, it is nothing but gases.
And then we had The View, that font of information that so many believe, declaring that the solar eclipse was caused by global warming.
Oh, yeah. And now let's go back a few years to the guy out of South Carolina, Claiborne, I believe his name was, who was questioning a military person, and he was concerned of our buildup on the island of Guam because he was concerned that all those people and equipment would tilt the island over.
Tip the island over.
And just dump everybody into the deep blue sea. So again, I don't know if the science that they're teaching in democratic schools is actually the real science, but it's an interesting science.
I have no words, to be honest with you, because, again, you're talking about people, our good friend Shirley, we'll call her, to say that the moon's made out of gas. And I watched the show. It's out everywhere. And there's no ambiguity about whether she was dead serious or not. She was absolutely of the belief that the moon is made of gas. And she's an elected member of Congress.
That's the next thing you're going to hear is AOC saying that the moon's more important than the sun because it gives us light at night.
Actually, she did say something about the eclipse. I wish I could recall it, if I can.
Neil Armstrong?
Yeah, she took some shot, and a light bulb's got more brains than she does. As I say, her bra size is more than her IQ. But
that was not Bill. That was Dan.
I have. Never mind, I'll let it go. But again, I just keep going back to why are we letting these type of people lead our country? If as bad as that is, what's worse is people will re-elect her in a landslide.
Absolutely.
They'll put AOC back in.
Again, moving on again for little tidbits.
Oh, you got more?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
we're going to skip to New York City now.
Please, let's not.
And for their infinite wisdom, they're now trying to pass a law that bans the plastic bottle.
Oh, they're going to go back to glass.
Oh, no. You can still have gallon ones, but you can't have the little ones.
Wait, you can have a gallon of soda?
You can have a gallon water. They're talking about water now.
Oh, water. Okay.
You can have a gallon. The size
so
is
it's just
illegal,
water. Okay.
but you can have a gallon one, and that's perfectly legal. But you can't have they're trying to pass a law banning those little.
Oh, the gym bros will be fine then because they carry around gallons of water. That's cool. I'm good. Let them do it. So, is this to help the illegal aliens in some way?
There's just no lack of amazement when you talk to these people or listen to them. Just when you think they've gone to the bottom of the barrel, they take out the basement and put in a subfloor.
They have. I don't know how much lower they can go. I honestly,
you know what? We can't say that because they take that as a challenge.
You
can't say something.
They prove us wrong every single
Yes,
time.
absolutely. Just when you think
but
it's over.
again, I'm going to go back to what I said a couple of minutes ago. It's not their fault. It's us dumbasses, all of us, that keep re-electing them and putting them back in power. We have to stand up and say we're not going to do this anymore. If you're putting someone into Congress, she's got some power in Congress.
Yes, she does.
Who, if she'd have said it was made of cheese, it wouldn't be any different. I'm sitting there thinking she's on whatever committee she's on, controlling whatever, because she's got some pretty good power, not as much as she had, say, 2 years ago. When she told everyone to go out and harass people in restaurants, and then got upset recently when somebody harassed her in a restaurant, because, it's only good for one side. Why are we, and I'm not saying us in particular, but the general public, putting these people back in power, not just once, not just twice, but basically for life every single time?
And unfortunately, that's the exact truth. You can't get them out once they're in. And there are plenty of good Congress people out there, and they're just.
But you know what happens, Bill? And I'm gonna throw a couple names. I'll throw one. I'll leave the names out of it. There are ones that get in and they have the best of intentions. I really believe that. And I'll use one we had as a guest not too long ago, Mr. Bishop, Dan Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
He got it. He got out, or is getting out, because he saw it for what it is. And he talked about that on that show. Go check out the prior show if you want to see what I'm talking about. But you look at somebody like Dan Crenshaw, who I highly admired, highly decorated military member. 4 to 6 years ago, I believed he was genuinely looking to change things. He is now part of the deep state. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He votes in lockstep with the deep state. So they get in. I think a lot of them are coming in with the best of intentions. They want to change things. They want to do what's right. And then they get a little bit of power and a lot of money, and then they get addicted to it.
The reality is also, it's estimated that a congressman who gets elected every 2 years spends probably 3 to 4 days a week looking for money or campaigning for money for his next election. So what time is left to do his job? None, or his or her job, which is none.
Well, they must be doing something right, because most of them come in on a $177,000 salary and end up with tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of wealth.
Yeah, and don't forget.
How did that happen?
They also have to buy the seats they're on. If they want to sit in a certain committee, it costs number of thousands of dollars to have that seat on that committee.
So, to kind of start going down a road we probably didn't intend to, but how do we get these people out?
I have a simple solution.
I do too. Go ahead.
My solution is very simple. Nobody reads these 3,000-page bills. Stick term limits in one and get it passed.
That's where, you stole my idea. Well, there's two parts. Single issue bills is a big start, because then they got to go on the record each bill, and then term limits. And we've talked about it before, 12 and 12. 2 terms in the Senate, 6 in the House, I'm good.
And I'd actually go for changing constitutionally the term of the House and make it 3 or 4 years.
I'm not opposed to that.
This way they're not consistently running, because you get elected and 2 years later you're standing again. 6 months into it, you start campaigning again to get ready for the next time.
You know what? I've never considered that. I think that's a great idea, and I hate saying that to you. I'm going to give you credit for actually saying something right.
You also gave me credit that time I said break up the cabal. That's 2.
2 in, 3 years we've been working together on these things. Yeah, I could buy into 3-4 year terms for a House.
With a limit at the other end of it, still 12 year limit.
12 and 12. 12 is plenty of time for you to make a difference.
Just as a thought on that, can you do 12 and 12 because you switch places?
No.
Or it has to just be a total of 12?
You're done. 12 and 12.
Now, suppose you've done 8 and you now get elected to the Senate. Now, can you do 14?
No, you can't run for the Senate then.
Oh, you have limiting at that point.
You have 12 years. Now, you want to run for 1 Senate term, 1 House term, let's say it's 4 years, and resign at the end of it, and give up your last 2 years, however you want to work it. I'm fine with 12 and 12. Hard number. You get 12 years combined in the House, Senate. Because otherwise they'll play that game. So, then there'll be, I did 12 years here, and now I'm going to do 12 in the Senate. Oh, by the way, now I can go back to the House for 12, because they'll try and manipulate that. You know that.
Oh, they would never do that.
It's... Why? Well, I know why Congress opposes it, but why do you think the public won't get behind this? And they generally don't. Most people are not in favor of term limits.
Well, most people don't understand it. And secondly, they know they'll never get it passed through Congress as far as they're concerned, and then nor do they trust a convention of states, unfortunately.
And that's the only way it will happen.
Yeah, and then that's the way you're going to see it through a convention of states. So...
we've talked about convention of states before. If no other issue, if they took that one up, it could make a tremendous difference.
There is one way that could get something close to it, but not as fine as we want. Because if you remember, there were a lot of people that were against, when you go back to early 1900s, so they're going to take away go for direct election of senators. Mm-hmm. And everybody in the government was against it. Mm-hmm. However, as soon as the Congress read the tea leaves and saw that they were going to actually call a convention of states and get it passed, they did it. So, just starting the process and getting to the point where a convention of states looks like it's going to happen may get that done so they can do it on their terms rather than somebody else's terms.
So they can save face, but it's got to be...
Not only that, they could make it a combination of 12. You could do 12 and 12 and make it a total. Right? They could do changes to the basic if they get it passed. So anyway, that's something to think about. But right now, we have to pay a few bills, and we have to come back and see if Dan is caught up on what's happening in the world. Back to Reclaiming America. Dan and I are here discussing the problems of the world and some conservative, reasonable solutions where we can find any. And I think it's time now to look at the worldview. So you might have noticed something's been going on in Israel for the last few months, weeks, picket. And they had a response.
Well, they had a response to a response.
Yes.
So I'm sure everybody knows about it, but in case you didn't, about a week ago, as we're filming this, Iran attacked Israel with God knows how many hundreds of drones.
Over 300. And missiles.
And a few got through, but for the most part, they shot them down. And then as we're filming this, Israel retaliated with an airstrike against Iran last night. And The last I saw on the reports was it wasn't a huge airstrike. There wasn't a tremendous amount of damage, but again, it's the optics behind it. And I believe Iran has said they're not, as of now, not going to retaliate. But
based their veracity, I'm not sure we can take that.
Yeah, I mean, their word is about as good as Joe Biden's.
Yeah, but at least they remember what they said.
Yeah, that I'll give you that. But again, we've talked about this conflict many times, and it just gets worse and worse.
You know, I hate to become cynical, because you know me, I'm just so sweet and kind.
Okay.
Sometimes you wonder if some of this is not just staged. I mean, you send 300 missiles and drones coming in, you knock down 99% of them, then you send a bunch of planes over and you do little or no damage. And I believe some of this could just be for face-saving issues. You know, the Iranians needed to do something about it. They did something. In exchange, Israel has to come back. And we know very well that the Biden administration has told them they didn't want anything serious to happen. You know, they didn't want to upscale what's going on. So they had to do something. So sometimes I wonder if this is not just a play schedule and here's your script and you do X to make your people feel better. We'll do Y to make my people feel better. Then we'll get back to the real world.
You're also touching on a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Which is that this is all just to increase more money coming into the arms race from the U.S. to sell weapons. So they reach out, hey, Iran, you send a few hundred drones over, make sure you don't hit anything serious. We'll retaliate. Oh, we need another $95 billion for weapons. I mean, you don't think it might be a coincidence that the budget bill is up for vote?
Well, you know, the event
right at the same
event
time
would be the natural trigger to push the bill. Yeah. The question is, how much of this was face-saving for nations so that they could literally live in the international community, and how much of it was real? And, you know, I would like to think that it was all real, but sometimes you wonder because, as we've talked before, you know, we're running out of conspiracy theories because they're all
becoming true.
Yeah, so,
I mean, I'm not sure that I buy into it that this is all to sell arms completely. I'm not going to dismiss it completely either. I just don't think Iran would play games like that.
No,
with the U.S. Would they do it to get arms from Russia? Yes.
But I could see
but Russia's
the
not in that
need
position.
for Iran to save face.
Oh, absolutely.
And arrange for missiles, and the Iron Dome is going to take down 99%.
The problem is now, Bill, is Iran says they're not going to retaliate, but
are they?
You know they will. Maybe not right now. It might be
6 months from now.
6 months from now. But they're going to escalate. So a drone attack gets responded to with an airstrike. What's the next level up from, military strike from Israel's Air Force? Iran doesn't have an effective Air Force, so they're going to send more missiles, but they're going to be more powerful missiles.
Yeah, and someone has to replenish their missiles and drones.
And then, at some point, does Iran get a nuke? Because I have absolutely no doubt if they ever got their hands on one, they would use it.
Now, you have to understand, Secretary Blinken said they don't have one. And we know that Blinken and Nod are never wrong. Nod would be the president.
I think right now it's realistic to assume they don't have one. Yeah. But that doesn't mean 6 months, a year from now. Russia's getting desperate for funds. So if Iran says, we'll give you a few $1 billion, you give us one of your nukes behind the scenes, or a Russian general, because they are, I was reading something, I don't know if you knew this, they have stripped out the old tanks that they had in storage for decades so badly from like copper and all that to sell, and it was the generals doing it.
Yeah. Well,
so what would stop a general who, all right, if I can get 20 million for a nuke?
My understanding is that they never recovered all the Russian nuclear missiles.
Exactly. So where are they, and what's to stop Iran from getting, or North Korea, although they have their own at this point apparently. That's my fear, right? Because Iran will not have a problem launching a nuke. None. They don't care.
You know, what I think is fascinating, and again, we're talking about this, and I'm heading to the White House with Blinken and Nod.
Nodding off.
Winken would be the vice president who just kind of winks there and smiles and says
And
stupid
cackles.
things. Blinken would be our Secretary of State, and nodding off would be our president. So the three of them are putting pressure for regime change on Israel. They want to get Netanyahu out of there and put someone in that they can quote deal with.
Control.
Where are they? Why are they doing the same thing in Iran? Because we all know that until someone stops Iran, this is not going to stop because they're funding the whole damn thing. Actually, we're funding because we gave them the money to do it with.
Exactly. And that goes back to that conspiracy I said, which is this is all to sell weapons. I just fear for what's to come. We're just seeing gradual, frogs in a pot type escalation, where eventually it's going to touch off. And you know as well as I do, you know better than I do, once it touches off, you ain't stopping it.
It would be interesting.
What if that drone strike had been directed at the carrier, our carrier, or, a ship of ours? What happens then? What does Biden say then? Oh, it's okay that you
They have hit our ships.
No, I'm saying they send 300 plus missiles at, I forget what carrier's there.
Eisenhower, maybe?
But the point being, is Biden going to go, it's okay you did that? Now, I think he actually would, to be honest with you. But
nobody was hurt. Don't worry about it, guys.
So what? We lost a flat top. 5,000 people get. Now, what's the likelihood to get hit? Probably very slim. But the fact that they took that aggressive move, I don't fault Israel for responding at all. In fact, I would have faulted them if they didn't. I'm sorry to say, but it's got to be an eye for an eye. It's the only way you're going to stop people like that. If somebody's trying to bully you and you cower down to them, which is what Biden is looking for people to do, it's never worked in history.
You can't negotiate with someone who says, my goal is to kill you.
To eradicate you.
Yeah, well, same difference.
A whole state.
How do you negotiate? What do you do? Lay down and say, please do it now?
Yeah.
River to the sea. That has not changed.
And meanwhile, you got college students, including children of Congresswoman.
The Columbia event this weekend.
And you sit there and you go, are these kids really this naive, stupid, whatever term you want to use?
Pick one.
Because it's at this point they have to know, or someone has had to have said to them at some point, river to sea means this. And they're just...
But they're okay with that.
Exactly. That's my point. They have to be okay with it. So they are protesting to eliminate the Jewish people from the face of the earth. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it at this point. So knowing that, and you've got a congresswoman's child advocating for that, goes back to what we talked about in the first segment. She's going to get reelected again. How? How do people allow that? It's our fault. I am not going to fault Omar or AOC or any of them. We're the dumbasses that keep putting them in.
Well, I don't know if it's the dumbasses, but the dumbasses that put them where they are. Because I will tell you, for example, while all this was going on, the Iraqi prime minister was visiting our country. And on his way back, he took a shortcut to Michigan to meet with the 90,000 Iraqis that live there, or at least some representation of those 90,000 people who think he's the best thing since ice cream.
And those people that want to do away with our Constitution.
Oh, yeah.
Racist.
But, and we touched on it, but we probably should follow a little bit more on Colombia.
Go ahead.
If you're not aware, they made a tent city. Yeah, I know. They made a tent city there. And again, river to the sea operation. Israel needs to be taken out. To everyone's surprise, the leader of Colombia actually asked the police to come in and remove them all.
Yep.
And they came in and they arrested about 100 people. They were out. Hours later they were dismissed, and they're back. The tents are up again.
My answer is you get the 82nd Airborne to go in, put them on a troop transport, give them a parachute, and drop them in front of Hamas, and let them protest there and see what happens.
What was interesting was if you looked at the news, those that showed it, the contrast that was going on. you had one side, you had all these people screaming, "We are Hamas," and they are screaming, "We are Hamas."
I know they are. That's my point.
And on the other side, a bunch of Columbia Jewish students showed up carrying the American flag and the Israeli flag, singing patriotic songs to their "We Are Hamas, River to the Sea" stuff that was going out there. You want to talk about a contrast?
And again, that's going to keep escalating. I mean, there's been instances of violence between two groups like that, and I think we're going to see a summer of violence make 2020 look like nothing. I really do.
Well,
and again, it's when you look at these kids, because they're kids, and they're standing there going, "We are Hamas." So you stand for roasting babies in an oven alive? And they obviously do, because if you're making that statement, there's no ambiguity in my mind. You are absolutely advocating to do that.
And I actually watched a young woman defending that happening by taking it all back to the genocide that started with the Israelis taking out all those people. And October 7th, according to them, was acceptable too.
Okay, well, then it would be acceptable for Israel to fight back.
Yeah, I would believe every nation has an
always
inner
find a
right
reason.
to defend
Yeah,
itself.
you can always find a reason to do something horrific.
But can you imagine at the end of World War II, just when they're getting into Germany and they're going to go in and finish it off, we say stop, let's let Hitler and crew live on. And what are you going to get 10 or 20 years down the road? You're going to get a replay. And people will know are going to do what they need to do, but I'm worried the Israelis are going to get so much pressure from our leadership here that they're not going to do the job they have to do.
Well, that's why this upcoming election is so important. Because if Biden stays in power, he and his administration are going to push Israel over the edge. And they have nukes. And again, they will not be afraid to use them if they feel that threatened. Thank God Egypt's kind of going, nope, we're with you, Israel. They're not directly, overtly.
Well, there are a number of Arab states
that are supporting.
Behind the scenes,
yes,
they're saying
Iran
is an issue.
Exactly.
But we don't want to publicly come out and say that.
Right.
And the other thing which is fascinating, the Palestinian people that really have no history prior to 1948, they have no history.
Oh,
None of the other countries want them.
What does that tell you?
It tells you everything. Nobody wants 100,000, 1 million of them, and 50,000 of them.
Every person of power or someone that's been directly asked about why won't you take them, it's because they try and overthrow every government wherever they are. That's what they do. And anyone who doesn't accept that and acknowledge it is a fool, which is 90% of our college-age students, apparently. And by the way, if this escalates, who's going to be the one fighting the war?
Actually, if it starts,
those college kids.
If I were the United States military, I would just get my draft set up at the Canadian border and pick them up as they come running, because they're going to be flying up there. But again, we've talked about this a long time ago. There's a reality if we have to go fight, that it's 6 months to a year before the first draftee gets to the battlefield.
Right.
And so that means whatever we have, both in active and reserve status, has to hold on till we get the people there. And we're not in a battlefield like we did World War II that's going to be a 7-year war. It's not going to happen.
Oh, it's going to be ugly.
It's going to be fast.
We haven't really talked about this yet, but you're looking at that movie Civil War that's come out. I'm going to see it hopefully this weekend.
Yeah, so I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
I think, looking at the trailer, one of the takeaways that I think people are arguing it's anti-Trump. I've heard others say it's the other way. I don't care about that. But what I'm hoping is that some of these kids will go see that and see the carnage. Admittedly, it's a movie, right? I get that. But maybe it'll wake some of them up, because you don't want this.
Yeah, but you know what the problem there is? There's been studies that the average 16-year-old, due to gaming, has participated in up to 16,000 murders, if you will. And they're so lifelike now in these games So I don't think it would shock anybody.
I've played those games, Bill. I get what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing entirely, but they know better. I don't think that's what's indoctrinating them. I think it's more what's happening in schools.
I'm not saying it's indoctrinating them, but I think it's desensitized them.
Well, the same thing to me. You know you're not going to respawn in real life, all right? I used to play Battlefield 1942 all the time, and admittedly I was a little older than them, but my kids played it. And I remember having this conversation with, my son was what, 16, 17 at that time, and he played it all the time. And I would say to him, you understand in real life this is not how it works. He goes, yeah, I do. And he would talk to me. He's no different than the average kid. He might be a little bit more smarter, but I don't buy that whole argument that it's completely desensitizing him. And I think movies like that might wake some people up, because I remember going to see Saving Private Ryan, and it was so realistic. There were people literally breaking down in the theater, because I saw it like the second or third night it came out. And there were vets there from World War II. It was, 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they got up and left. And that affected me more than anything else, is seeing that. And I think maybe some of this might open their eyes a little bit, I guess is where it might be wishful thinking. I'll grant you that. Because if this happens, you're going to talk tens of thousands of deaths like that.
That might be too long.
When you realize that what's a drone cost at, I was going to say Radio Shack, but they don't exist anymore, $100?
You can get one for that cheap.
So let's say you get a drone for $100.
But if you buy one through the military, it's only about $100,000.
But you can take out a main battle tank with 4 people in it for $100, effectively. That's what's going to happen, and at no risk to you. Oh. That's what's happening. You're seeing it in the Ukraine.
You're seeing
on both sides.
You've got people sitting in stateside in these little boxes, for want of a better term, that are controlling missiles that are flying hundreds of thousands of miles to hit a target within a couple of feet.
I'm all for defending yourself if you're attacked. Like I fully support Israel. But we also need to have this discussion with all of these kids about the realities of what's going to happen. Whether it's a civil war here, a war in Ukraine that we get involved in, Israel, Taiwan, North Korea, South Korea, who cares? This is not going to be, 2,200 that died at Pearl Harbor. It's going to be 22,000 in the first. As awful as that is, but that's what's going to happen. Just my 2 cents on that.
And your 2 cents is get us to the point where we have to pay some bills, because we make a lot more sense that way.
So we had a nice fun first segment and a real downer second. So we got to find a middle ground here on the third one. Well, we'll be back in a couple minutes. Welcome back to Reclaiming America. This is a professional operation here. And I'm not going to edit that out either, Bill.
She pointed to you.
I know it. I started to go and then you cut me off. Anyway, let's get back to it, because I only got about 10 minutes to finish the show. So you have a lovely item to discuss. I'm getting ready to shred you on. Go ahead.
One of the things we hear from some of the Marjorie Green, Taylor Greens, and some of the Bucks and the rest of that crew up there in D.C.
Crew up there.
Yes, the ultra right up there.
You know what I hate about this is I'm going to have to defend MTG, and I can't stand her. Go.
They've been screaming, among other things, is that we should not be passing any expenditures. Now, forget about the expenditures, whether you agree with Iran, or whether you agree with Ukraine, whether you agree with Israel, whether you agree with giving money to Taiwan. That's a separate issue. But we should not be passing any of those things until we have a border bill.
I agree.
Well, the fact of the matter is, this group, our current House leadership under the Democrats, by a vote of 2019 to 2013, passed the Secure Border Act of 2023 in May of 2023, actually on the 11th of May of 2023, and they delivered it to the Senate, where it has sat in committee from the day they delivered it, and will be there as soon as this session closes down at the end of this fiscal year. or the end of this calendar year, actually.
Okay.
And this border bill has everything in it they've been dancing for. It requires 900 miles of a wall being built, up from the 700 that was asked for. It requires returning people back to their country that they came from. It requires increasing the numbers of border security people and arresting people and securing the border. It does everything everybody asked for. It has been passed. So why do we have to pass it twice when it's going to go nowhere?
I have a question for you.
I'm not done yet. When it goes nowhere,
you have no support in this room. Go ahead.
When it goes nowhere,
yeah.
To do it 2 or 3 or 4 times and send it to a person like Schumer, who's going to put it in the bottom of his pile, lock the door, and say it's not going to happen.
Why wouldn't he? Because he knows they're not going to do anything about it. Here's your solution. Did Johnson and Schumer not get together this week and hammer out another $95 billion to Ukraine and all them? Yes or no?
Yes, they did.
Okay. So why is Johnson doing any of that instead of saying, I sent you a bill last year, put it up for a vote, or you get nothing? I will not send anything to vote. Nothing will get out of committee. We will stop the government dead. Do it or else. Challenge down. You can either accept it, Chucky, or we'll go to war, like figuratively. That's what they need to do, my friend. They could pass all these bills they want, and it's a good thing that they did. I support that they did that, but they don't have the balls to back it up. They're feckless and weak. Johnson goes, well, I can't get my bills passed through the Senate, but I'll give Chucky everything he wants, and he's done it time and again. And the one before him did the same thing, McCarthy. There, now I got you back. Go. Well, why would I vote for any Republican in Congress at this point, Bill? They don't do a goddamn thing.
Because I will tell you why we have to hold the Congress. And that goes back to the election of 2024. And I've said this before. If we do not control the House of Representatives and this election goes to the House for settlement, which the Constitution said it could if no one gets 270 votes, then who's ever Speaker of that operation is going to have a lot of authority to make sure things happen that way. And if we're not very careful, the Democrats are going to be in charge of it, and then we're going to watch them find a way to make sure Trump does not win.
So
and we need.
What makes you think that it would be any different if the Republicans were in charge of the House?
Well, let's put it in a different verge. It's a 90% chance it'll happen the way I'm talking. It's a 100% chance it's going to happen the other way if we give them the power.
Nope. I'll tell you right now. You and I both know this, and I know where you stand, and I respect that. But they don't support Trump. They may talk it, but they don't actually support him. And the proof was in 16 through 20, they never supported him. They don't back him now. He is up for how many freaking trials? Where are they? They may not be able to stop the trial from happening, but why aren't they out on the Capitol steps every effing day hammering on it? Because guess what? That's exactly what Schumer does when it goes the other way. But you don't see Johnson out on the steps going, this is an insurrection. This is election interference. No, what you say is, we have to play nice. Because, you want to vote for us because we're not them. Bullshit. Enough. Game over.
Tie game.
I'm sorry. I have lost all respect for all of them. I gave Johnson a chance, and I did.
Yes, you did.
And I said, if he does not play hard ball, he will lose me. He has lost me.
And I respect the fact that what you say, and our executive producer, who's wiser than the both of us, says that we should shut down the government and
shut it down.
And I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. Because I think
by
shutting down the government, we can find out what we really need and what we don't need, and get rid of what we don't need.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great thing.
So why don't we do it?
Well,
why don't they do it, I should say, not we?
Well, we don't have the authority to do same. But all we can do is elect people there from our own areas and make sure those people are doing the right thing.
Why? Speculation now. Why doesn't he have any balls?
Well, I've never done a physical inspection on that, so I'm not
know what I mean.
There. But
why isn't he doing it?
I think he believes he doesn't have the authority to make it happen. He doesn't have the backing to make it happen.
Is he the Speaker of the House?
Yeah.
Does
but
he
he
not
also,
determine what bills go to the floor? Yeah.
to an extent,
Okay.
you still have committees that will send them to the floor.
And he can block those too. He's got that kind of power because Schumer does it all the time in the Senate.
It's different in the House than the Senate.
It's not that much different.
There's a difference in how it runs. Schumer's absolute control. Whoever runs the Senate has absolute control of what's going on there. It's not quite the same in the Senate. The House,
So
it is close.
So,
but
as
not quite.
close as the votes are in the House, what is it now? It's like
one or two votes.
220 to whatever.
1 or 2 votes.
There's enough people that if Johnson stood up and said, we're not doing this anymore, that would back him, and it would get the other Republicans behind him.
You got a half a dozen Republicans that would desert and join the other side, and it'd be
Well,
over.
they're voting with him anyway, so who cares?
But right now, we need to hold the position
No.
for this election.
Whether it's Jeffries or Johnson, you're going to get the same results.
No, you're not.
I don't agree with you at all.
Even if you take, I'll give you 50. Even if you're only 50% sure Johnson's going to do it, you're going to be 100% sure the other one, Jeffries, is going to screw it up. So which one would you bet on?
Neither.
Which one do you need? Well, you haven't got a choice of neither. It's A or B. You don't get a C.
Neither. Yeah, no, I have a choice. The choice is neither one of them will vote for Trump. I don't care who's in power.
You got to
The
remember
deep
what's
state
going to
is too
happen
deep.
is each state gets a single vote between their group. You know, so if you got 55 reps, you get 1 vote. If you got 2 people, you get 1 vote.
And how have they voted? 74 Republicans crossed over to vote for a Democratic bill this week, Bill. They voted against the Fourth Amendment. They voted for more state security and investigation into innocent Americans without a judge having to sign off on it. You want me to support that? Not a chance. I believe in the Constitution.
That's not exactly accurate.
It's not far from it.
Because there is a judge, there's a FISA judge, who may or may not be what they're doing, you know, but they are signing off on it, so that's not quite accurate. The question is, are we going to hold accountable the people that go in front of them and say, I'm certifying this as being 100% accurate,
No.
and in fact, they're lying.
Here's who I'm
And when you prove they're lying,
hold
nothing
accountable.
happens.
The 70 or 80, whatever number of Republicans who voted for that. Instead of saying, nope, we're not voting for it. That's what we're talking about, Bill. Lock it up. Nothing gets through.
Okay, but
Period.
you know, what you're saying is,
Shut it down is what we're saying.
I'm not arguing that we shouldn't. I'll even give you that one, okay? But what I'm saying is, if you want lockstep, then we really don't need 435 people. We need 2 people in each place. And
what
let them
makes
make
you
the
think
decision.
that's not exactly what we have going on right now?
Nope.
You may not agree with me, but that's exactly.
Why? You can look at the Republican Party. The Republican Party, you cannot say is ever in lockstep.
Neither party is.
Oh, the Democrats are in 100% lock on every critical item. They're there and they're lined up with it.
No.
So there's a difference. And at this particular point, we have to
By the
wrap
way,
the
we're
show
still
up.
friends. This is just we're having.
Yeah, I will readily admit when he's wrong.
And
I will
unfortunately
support
for you, you're the one that's wrong this time, and you know it.
And I'm eating that crow right now. And it's not even a good sandwich. But anyway, come back and catch us again on Reclaiming America. And you can find us on
Spotify. I'm ready for you. I was ready. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and if he ever figures it out, TikTok. Because God knows where he's putting the videos right now. Wrap it up, Bill.
It's on TikTok. Anyway,
It's not on our...
stick around. We'll be back with Reclaiming America.
No,
with
we're
some
done
more.
for the show. We're not going to be back.
We'll be back with the
Next
next
week.
episode next week, where we'll have more incisive
Insanity.
incisive
I like
insanity.
insanity better. Wrap it up,
Views
Bill.
of
All right, we're
the
good.
world according to Bill and Dan.
Yeah, that was a good one.